Hello once again. It warms my heart to know that you are here. Your desire to commune more closely with Jesus is what makes you a truly wonderful person, as well as an outstanding Christian. So I truly and deeply welcome you to this midweek meditation. Okay, I don't know if this was a setup or a crank call or if the person was serious, but a woman named Donna once called a radio station in Fargo, North Dakota. She was complaining about the placement of deer crossing signs, especially along busy highways, and suggested that the signs should be placed instead along roads less traveled, so deer would be crossing there and be less of a hazard to drivers. Have you heard about this caller before? If not, I've included a link in the description so that you can dial it up and listen for yourself. You tell me if you think she's serious or not. She certainly sounds like it to me. And if she is, she mistakenly assumes that deer will only cross roadways where there is a deer crossing sign. And of course, this is not true. Deer will go wherever they wish, crossroads or not, regardless of any signage or lack of it. But even if she knows nothing about deer, the underlying premise of her thoughts are far more common than you think, and still just as mistaken and silly. Donna from North Dakota assumes that we can assert control over all things, even the migratory patterns of deer. But this illusion of control is something many people deal with without realizing how mistaken they are. Oh, it may not be about deer, but how many of us think that we can assert control in other areas of our life? It is God and God alone who rules supreme. He makes nations rise and fall. His hand controls the clockwork of the universe. All things unfold according to his will. All events are subject to his decree. You've heard it before, but it bears repeating. There is a God. You are not him. Nevertheless, we try to set up our lives, make plans for our future, devise our stratagems, visualize our expected outcomes, all with the expectation that all things will turn out as we planned by the sheer force of our wills. What happens, of course, is that we find ourselves bitterly disappointed, beating our heads against a stone wall, finding that the tides of event have turned against us, and the plans we so carefully devised have come to ruin. Your illusion of control will eventually break your heart. When you make your plans, making no allowance for what God intends to do, you will often find yourself paddling upstream, battling the currents, exhausting yourself in a struggle you will never win. Much better to make your plans while recognizing the fact that God may have other ideas. Be flexible. Get a feel for how God prefers things to happen. As much as possible, understand the mind of God so that you can make plans that will flow with the current and not against it. Seasoned athletes have a frame of mind for their success. Rather than trying to force the action, instead of hammering away at a predetermined game plan that no longer fits the situation, they will be adaptable enough to find the easiest and clearest path for success under the current prevailing circumstances. The expression they have for this is, "Let the game come to you." That's good advice, my friends. And by game, I don't mean the deer. I don't even mean sports. We're talking about our lives here. Life comes to you. Do not shape it yourself. Let life come to you, because it comes often unexpectedly, often counter to your wishes, sometimes violently, sometimes tragically, sometimes joyfully. Life comes to you. Often not according to your plans, but always in the way God has intended. And in faith, we have the confidence to know that God's plan is the best, even if it leaves our own plans in ruins. Have the wisdom, dear friends, to receive life as it comes. Don't try to make it turn out counter to what God intends. That's a recipe for failure. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Do you not believe that the plans God has for you are far better than anything you can bring about on your own? Let life come to you. Don't fight God if life is going a different direction than you anticipated. Go with the flow, as they say. Don't struggle against the current God has set. The idea that you are in control is silly as thinking deer must obey crossing signs. Just as deer are unconcerned about signage, so is God dismissive of your elaborate plans, because he has something far better in store for you. Abandon your illusion of control. Do not delude yourself into thinking things must turn out as you want. God is in control. And I say, thank God for that. God bless you, dear ones, and we will see you soon.